Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to Geography and Environmental Science. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes to let everyone sign in and get logged on with us, and then we'll be able to make a start. You've got three presenters today. So you'll have me from Worthing College, Kaylee Knight. You'll also have Tom Heary from Worthing and Joe Tipping from Haywards Heath. So we'll get started very soon. If you can just bear with us, that would be amazing. The event will be recorded, so we will be posting it onto our website at the end. So if there's anything you want to look at, you can go back to that on our website. We've got the opportunity for you to put questions into the Q&A box at the bottom. So if you can add any questions to there, and we will work our way through and answer those as quickly as we can. We've also got a chat option, and that's for any technical difficulties that you might have. So if you're having any problems in terms of being able to hear or anything like that, then that can go into the chat. Anything general about the actual subjects themselves or the college, those types of questions, then they go into the Q&A, please. So we still waiting for a couple more people, so just be a few more minutes. Thanks for bearing with us. Should also mention that this is a joint event for Worthing and Haywards Heath, obviously. So most of what we'll be talking about will apply across both colleges. So hopefully that answers that question in case you were thinking about that. Couple more people to come, I think. Oh, okay, I'm getting the signal to maybe get started. So we'll get started. This is the little introduction slide. So first of all, I'll go first because I'm already speaking. So you can see there, I'm subject leader for Geography and Environmental Science. I'm based in Worthing campus, but I only actually teach the geography. I've been here for, I think this is my 4th year. I've been teaching for about 16 years or something along those lines. I'll pass you over to Tom.
Good afternoon, evening. My name's Tom Heary. I teach Geography and Environmental Science at Worthing College. I've been here for 7 years and teaching for 10, 11 years. Over to Joe then.
Hi, my name's Joe Tipping and I teach Geography and Environmental Sciences at Haywards Heath. I've been teaching for about 17 years and I'm new to the college as it's a new college. So over to Tom to get us started.
So I'm just going to talk to you about the two courses, the Geography A-Level and the Environmental Science A-Level. So the Geography A-Level is a fairly new course, like many of the A-Levels that you might have been talked about recently. It's you'll be on the 4th or the 5th iteration of that year, and it's we do Edexcel at Worthing College and Haywards Heath, mainly because we asked around the schools and a lot of you were doing AQA, so we thought to do something a little bit different. And as you can see there on the screen, it is split up into 3 different categories: a paper 1, which is a more physical paper, paper 2, which is a more human paper, and then you've got this paper 3 called a synoptic paper, which is a kind of an amalgamation of all of the topics that we looked at. You might be doing a decision-making exercise later in GCSE. It's the same kind of thing. But what's really, really interesting about this geography course is the fact that even though it is split into human and physical, there's a huge kind of through line where both human and physical are present in all of the chapters. So for example, we will look at one of our big case studies that we look at is China. We look at it in terms of the energy security, and the water and the globalization and the health and human rights and the superpowers. So this is this huge through line here of these different chapters where you really get to kind of see how one thing is going to impact the other, and it's really interesting, I find. It's also in terms of the last thing there at the bottom, which you might have seen, the independent investigation. This is a new thing in this new A level, where it got taken out of the GCSEs, I think. And it's something that you get to pick completely on your own. If you're more of a physical geographer, you can do a more physical kind of coursework. If you're more of a human geographer, you can do a more human thing. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you can mix them both together. And this is something that you get to pick your own question. It's something which is really, really unique to the geography A level, I think, whereas rather than being told what you have to do, you get to decide what you want to do. And it's worth 20%, so it's actually worth quite a lot. And it's a really, really nice way for you lot to really take ownership of some of your learning in your A level, to really kind of direct it into exactly what you want to be looking at. Could I have the next slide, please, just to move on to the environmental science A level. It's a little bit different. It's only split into two, a more physical and a more kind of like, not human, but a bit more kind of biology kind of side of the environmental science side there. But again, there's a lot of mixing and matching of the chapters and the topics. So we're going to look at, for example, the living environment, which is like ecology and all these ecology and the human aspects on the environment. But then also looking at energy and pollution into the waters and the air, climate change. All of these different topics are going to be covered in this course. So you might see it's a little bit, there's some similarity there between the geography and the environmental science topics. However, they are by no means the same thing. It's not like if you take both of those, you are going to end up just being sat in a room thinking at covering the same topics. They're looked at different ways. Obviously, the environmental science, you're going to have a lot more physics in there, a bit more chemistry in there, and it's a really, really fascinating course. Which is very, very kind of modern and up to date, and with current events. So I'll pass you over to Kaylee now, who's going to talk to you about which course should you choose.
Okay, next. Oh, sorry, you're on the right side. Okay, so in terms of which courses you should choose, obviously Tom's just given you a good outline of both courses. We generally would say if you are someone who's like very interested in geography, you're really enjoying maybe your geography GCSE and you're thinking of a future of a kind of career that's geography related, then it would really be a good option to maybe pick both courses. As Tom said, although there is some overlap, which you would find really useful, and might help you to get like a really in-depth understanding of certain topics, it would by no means mean that it would be boring or that you'd be kind of repeating the same thing. They definitely complement each other strongly. Both courses are great for university. They both count as a science. So we do find some students who want to go to university and they need to have 2 science courses. These could be like a different option. So you could do like a chemistry or biology or one of the other sciences, obviously, and then do a geography or the environmental science alongside it. So that's a real positive for us. If you're obviously a little bit more scientifically minded and you're thinking, I don't only want to do geography or environmental science, then environmental science might be the way to go. If you're a real kind of all-rounder, then you might find that the geography is more for you. In terms, oops, 2 seconds. I'll just do that in a minute. I've gone to the dark. In terms of the timetables, we have quite a number of students who will be able to basically put any kind of combination of courses together. We're a big college, so we've got we usually have 3 sets for geography, for instance, and that gives us a real flexibility with the timetable. So that's really positive for us. Thank you in terms of being able to give you the courses and the timetable that you'd like to have. Could we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so in terms of highlights for geography, one of the big things that is really important is that geography is considered to be something which we call a facilitating subject. and that's been highlighted in a group report from the Russell Group. So the Russell Group are a group of kind of top universities, some of the more traditional universities, who are very kind of well renowned, and they identified some different subjects that they really like to see on students' kind of applications. So geography is a really good subject to open kind of doors in terms of it's really varied. You get a real good range of different kind of skills and things that we will develop throughout your subject, and it's really liked by universities basically. It's also a course which is very much valued by employers as well. So if you're thinking university is not for you, geography could still be a very good option. Really develops lots of different skills, you know, communication skills and analysis. We do essays, there's some, you know, maths and things involved as well. So it's kind of a real good all-round subject. Obviously, with kind of current events, if you think about the current US elections and climate change and things like that, geography is a very current subject. So there's always something in the news which kind of relates to us. And that's another thing which we usually find geographers are very kind of keen about, because it allows them to translate that passion into kind of their real life. In terms of the fieldwork, Tom already talked about that. I feel like that's a real highlight for you, is that you can basically pick your own fieldwork and have that ownership over that, and really look into detail about some you know, topic that you're kind of passionate about and that you're very interested in. And lastly, the other main thing is previous residential trips that we've run. So we in the past have had 5-day residential trips to Devon and also to Wales, and that allows us to collect the data that we need to collect, and also is a really good opportunity for students to kind of make friends with everyone else who's on the course, and also use the expertise from the field study centres. So that's the overall kind of highlights for geography. Could I have the next slide, please? In terms of the highlights for environmental science, you've got very much kind of a lot more hands-on learning. Like I said, good kind of overlap with your being able to use your scientific knowledge, but linking that into maybe some of your kind of more geographical knowledge and knowledge of the world. Research skills are very important in this subject, and you will get lots of opportunities to develop your research skills. And again, that's a big kind of plus for employers, because it makes you a really good kind of all-rounder and a really good thinker, critical thinker, and that's something which obviously is really important in the workplace. In terms of highlights, kind of like trips or more extracurricular, we've developed some links already with local kind of organisations and employers. So that would include places like Arundel Wetlands, BIFA, which is the kind of recycling centre. You've also got places like the Rampion Wind Farm, Pulborough Brooks, and also we've had the Environment Agency come in and give talks and things like that before. So there's definitely opportunity maybe to have some related work experience, and also to have some kind of guest speakers come in and give you some talks about kind of how this might translate into careers and things like that for you. So that's the highlights for our 2 courses. I'm going to pass over to Jo now, and she's going to talk to you about where this course could lead you.
There's a number of different career paths specifically for geography, and undergraduates supposedly get on very well with geography in finding employment, and there's lots of studies to support that and newspaper articles. So in terms of the physical geography, there are some careers links to coast and coastal management, looking at the current impact of local sea level rise. There are also links made to sort of future planning for coastal defences. There are links made to meteorological sort of sciences, and there's a good website for the Royal Meteorological Society that discuss jobs linked to insurance, and jobs linked to sort of TV and the media, reporting on the weather, but also research behind it. There's lots of different jobs linked to geoscience and soil conservation, hydrology, the study of water and water flow. In terms of the human geography, there's a variety of careers linked to development, working in aid agencies, planning where aid is to be sent and the logistics behind that, to do with risk mapping and cartography. There are also jobs linked to local and national government. Geographers have good decision-making skills, planning skills. So there's a real range of jobs, and geography seems to be a good, as Kaylee said, facilitating subject. So with lots of transferable skills, it makes graduates very competitive. On to the next slide. For the environmental science course, there are links made to geography, so there are some common careers. There are also links made to sustainability related careers in terms of sustainability consultation and recycling and waste management and planning for the future and how we dispose of our waste. There's also careers linked to the monitoring of water quality, again, soil conservation, environmental monitoring, environmental impact, and planning. And there's some really specific job roles as well linked to sort of oil excavation and mineral surveying, looking at how we explore, how we research, and how we look at our proven reserves. To combine the two subjects, again, as Tom said, there's some really good links, and it gives a really holistic view of some of these careers, particularly sort of linked to things like hydrology and soil conservation, some really common links. On to Tom.
So in terms of the facilities that we have at the colleges, we've got obviously well-equipped, spacious classrooms. We've got all the textbooks that you need. We've got all the equipment that you would need for any type of field work, including anemometers, pH meters, ranging poles, calipers, infiltration meters, which again means that when you come to that coursework, you can do whatever you want. We have everything that you would need to do whatever you want. Same thing with the environmental science course. If there's anything that we need to do, we've got little wind turbines, we've got some solar panels, we've got everything that you need to do that. Also, we have access to science labs when and if we need them. We've also got around the buildings things called learning zones or private study areas where you can just do your independent work if you come in a bit earlier or you need to stay a bit later, or if you've got a free period, sorry, a study period in between two lessons. Both campuses have a well-stocked library with subject-specific books, either textbooks that you could borrow for the for again a study period, or extra reading books, magazines such as the GAs, the reviews, National Geographic's Economists, all these different publications that you will find completely and utterly indispensable in your A-level journeys. Could I please have the next slide, please? So here we've just got three kind of quotes from some of our ex-students, and we'll come back to this slide right at the end so you can read all of the amazing comments that they've made. But the main thing here is that if you look at where these students have gone on to study after taking a geography A-level, we've got people in highly competitive courses like medicine. We've got people in some of the best universities in Russell groups in like King's College. We've got a student two students last year who got into Cambridge, and then we've also got people going to highly competitive universities like Loughborough, Royal Holloway, various things like that. And when you come to read this these comments, what you'll find is not only have these students had a really good time at the college, but also the help and the support and the enjoyment of the course that they had is clear to see. And yeah, that's one of the things that we're really proud about here, is the fact that they really enjoy geography and environmental science. And it's something that we actually are very proud of. So I'll pass on just to finish off to Joe or Kaylee.
So in terms of enrichment, we try and do as much as we possibly can. So I can see that there's a question about sort of societies and things that we can be part of. And we take students, apologies, my light's just gone off, but we take students to lectures by the Royal Geographical Association. And I know that that's moving online at the moment, looking at issues to do with climate change and sort of synoptic discussion, which is really good for paper 3, for our last paper. We also try and visit local universities and use some of their facilities. And I, for example, have worked with Brighton and Sussex, asking students to do little interviews for us and talk to us about career progression and where they've gone and what they've done with geography and environmental science. We also try and ask other professionals from different areas to tap in via Zoom into lessons, or to sort of come in and be interviewed, and try and include and refer to different professionals as we teach geography and environmental science. And at Worthing, there's been links made with the Environment Agency as well, looking at local river pollution issues and environmental action. We also have a programme, the Aspire programme, which looks at students who are looking to move forward and into aspirational careers. And there's been a number of really good sort of talks with people linked to sort of themes in and around China and will China rule the world. And you can see on the slide given by Sir Christopher Hum, but also we try and make as many links as we can, just to raise the sort of, make lessons quite innovative and interesting and quite aspirational by drawing on other people and other professionals. We also make links to local employers. And again, as I've mentioned, with virtual contact, personally, I've been looking at some local regeneration in Haywards Heath, and we've been drawing upon sort of people in the local area to ask their opinions and how they've been impacted. So on to the next slide.
Okay, so this is basically coming to the end of our presentation in terms of the things that we plan to say to you. So a couple of kind of general FAQs which maybe you might be thinking about. So the first one is to do with whether there are any costs involved with the course or courses. So one of the things we do kind of recommend is that you purchase the course textbook. Where there are there's information about that which we can give you if you come here as a student. They are generally around £25 for the textbook, and that's for that lasts for the year. So there's 2 separate textbooks, one for year 1, one for year 2. So we would expect for you to buy that ideally. Obviously, if you chose to get anything else, like in terms of revision guides or something like that, then there are quite a lot of those out there now as well. That's not something which we stipulate that you would have to do. There is obviously financial support for some students if you would qualify, that if there was, you know, worries about anything like that, that's a question which sometimes comes up. In terms of other costs, we have got field equipment. We don't ask you to pay anything for that, to borrow and use that to be able to collect your data. The thing that there could potentially be a cost for is field trips. So in the past, like I said, we have done residential field trips to do data collection. We've gone to the field study centres so that we can use their equipment and we can use their expertise, and we would stay in those field study centres. So it would include things like your accommodation and your food, your meals while we're there, and then you would go out to different places and actually collect your data. And then they've got classrooms set up, so in the evenings and things like that, then you would write some of your coursework up and get support, and there'd be workshops on things like statistics and that type of thing. So if we did be able to go back to a situation where we can run a field trip like that for data collection, then there's obviously a cost involved. In the past, that's been around £350 to £400, because it is for the whole week. And like I said, it does include everything, the accommodation, the food, and the specialist kind of expertise of the staff that are there, etc. In terms of a couple of people I've noticed in the chat have been asking about whether we go abroad or do any other trips like that. We are hoping that, depending on the situation, if we are able to reinstate trips, then we're hoping to offer a trip to Iceland. That would of course be a completely optional trip for students, because there would obviously be a cost involved with that as well. And that would be to go and, obviously experience the wonders that Iceland can offer. So yeah, we would like to think we would be able to offer some type of trip, and obviously if you did want to do that, then there would be a cost involved. But in terms of like day-to-day costs, it's really just the textbook is probably the main one, or just any kind of little, like we might do small day trips, so there might be a small cost towards if we had to hire a coach or something like that, but there's no kind of major costs. Again, in the chat someone mentioned about where they had to buy lab equipment like lab coats and those types of things. There wouldn't be any expectation for you to buy anything like that. We would provide that for you. The second thing that we get quite often is about whether you can take both of these courses together. I think probably, hopefully, we've already answered that and touched on that, but there's a little summary there for you. Essentially, definitely both courses work really well. They complement each other very well, and it would maybe give you a little bit of an interesting view to be able to look at a topic maybe from different perspectives. So like renewable energy, for instance, we do in the second year in the carbon and energy topic, but then also in the environmental science course, then students will look at renewable energy, but they'll look at it from obviously a bit more of a scientific view in terms of like, you know, how does a dam work, or how do we actually produce solar energy and those types of things. I think that probably covers all the main things. If we could just go to the last slide. So we've just put this student voice slide up again, just so you can have a chance to have a little bit more of a read of it if you want to. Obviously, we've already kind of picked the highlights out of that for you, but really interesting to see those students' kind of comments on their experience here with us. I'm going to hand you over to Tom in a second, and he's going to just pick up some of the key highlights from the Q&A. And like I said, this is being recorded. We'll put this on the website. So if you want to go back and look over any of the slides or anything like that, then you can. The other thing to mention is that if you want to get your first choice places, then we are hoping that you'll be able to get your application into us by the 18th, Friday, the 18th of December. And that can guarantee you your first choice places. Obviously, you can apply to us after that date, but then we can't guarantee necessarily that you would get your places in some of our oversubscribed courses. So the Q&A, I'm going to pass over to Tom, and then some of that will go into a fact sheet as well, which will also be on the website. So I'll pass over to Tom. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. So yeah, so in terms of like some of the main questions that have popped up from quite a few of you, one of them was, is the course the same as the GCSE geography? Again, as we said, we've chosen a different board, so we're doing EdXL. You know, most of you are probably doing AQA. That seems to be the case, at least around the Worthing schools. And it obviously there are you might have seen some crossover in terms of the topics like the tectonics. But what we've chosen to do in the way we've organized the course is to start off with those maybe more familiar topics like tectonics, so that as you're getting used to working, to reading, to writing like an A-level student, you're kind of familiar with some of the concepts covered, rather than throwing you in the deep end. Not only are you learning a brand new topic like, let's say, superpowers or energy security, but you're also kind of trying to get to grips with A-level studies and expectations. So yes, there are some similarities, but it is very different. And even in the topics that you might find at least familiar, there are quite a lot of differences. Another one that came out was what's it like day to day at college? And in terms of that, is you will be having 4 hours of lessons, 2 times 2 hours a week. And then you also have something called an independent study pack, which you are expected to be spending between 4 and 7 hours on a week. And again, these are going to consist of like essays, practice questions, some extended reading or viewings that we can't watch. So like, there might be a documentary there for a 40-minute odd documentary, which is going to give you more insight into a topic. This week, they've just watched something on the water resources in California, for example. yeah, you would do that for your 3 subjects that most people will be taking. So there was also a question about, is there one-on-one help? Obviously, these will not be timetabled in terms of like your support, but all of us, myself, Joe and Kaylee, are always available for you at lunchtimes, at breaks, at the end of a lesson, to sit down with you for 10, 20, 30 minutes and go over something if you need to get a little bit of extra help. Or anything like that. We've also typed up all of our case studies, which are available online for you, as well as all of the teaching materials will be up there online for you. So if you need to quickly go back and watch a video that was shown in a lesson, or if you want to quickly have another read of or you've lost one of your sheets, they're all up there for you. And of course, again, please do feel free to ask us anything. And then the last one was, will you miss out by not doing one or the other? Again, as Kaylee and both Joe have said in previous parts of the presentation, they are very, very complementary. So if you are really thinking about going down a kind of environmental geography route, it is absolutely a great mix and match to have. We usually have about 30–40% of the geography cohort who are in the the other way around, the environmental cohort that are in the geography courses. But yeah, you will, depending on what, if you know what you want to do already next year or in 3 years' time, that should be an easy one. If you're not too sure, you can always kind of have a look at the prospectuses and come and talk to us right at the beginning of the year. Say, oh, these are the questions that I've got. I'm not too sure about this. I'm not too sure about that. And of course, we will try and answer your questions as best we can. Just to quickly check, there's one last question there about extended project qualifications that I see Kaylee is trying to answer very rapidly. So yes, of course, you can do an EPQ. It's definitely a good idea to do one. It's like a pre-university essay. You get to go really in depth into one subject that you're really, really passionate about and really excited about. So and again, it doesn't have to be something that you've covered in the past. So like this year, I've got someone doing an EPQ on COVID and globalization. We've had some in the past looking at conservation in New Zealand. What else did I have in the past? I've had something to do with is India the next superpower compared to China? All you can do whatever you want in an EPQ, obviously within reason, and it is something that we really encourage our students to do. Just in terms of like it expands your knowledge of the subject and really helps students in the long run, especially those of you who are going to go to university. You have that kind of leg up on the people who didn't do one, because those first 2 or 3 essays at university will be pretty easy for you. So I'll just pass you over to Kaylee to round things off for today. But thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello. Okay, so I think that's all from us really. I think we've pretty much answered all of the questions. Like I said, there will be a summary of the Q&A. So I'm sure if you've got a question, then someone else will have had a similar thought as you. So we'll put that on the website, and we'll put a copy of this recording onto the website as well. Thank you so much for coming and being with us today. Really hope we've given you all the information that you need, and we really look forward to meeting you, hopefully in September. Thanks very much.